We're going to have a quick look now at what we're going to do to the wine. I'm trying to focus on things that we actually get asked about when people come into our showroom. So I'm trying to cover quite a bit, but hopefully try and make it in a simple language that we can all understand. We've now finished our fermentation. Our wine is done and dusted. It's all lovely and clear, and we've obviously got it in a variety of containers. We might well have it in a 25-litre bucket. We might have a 25-litre fermenter. We could have it in one of the clear 23-litre fermenters, or we might have it in a glass demijohn. So with the 25-litre containers, the bucket and the fermenter, we've actually got quite a bit of headspace above. We've got like 2 litres of headspace. And we need to make sure that we've got the liquid out of there fairly quickly because we run a risk of getting an infection. With the 23-litre one, these ones are slightly better for longer term storage because we can top up to the neck, and these actually only hold the 23 litres. The thing to remember about PET is that it is not a safe media to keep it in on a long-term basis. Anything more than a few weeks, again, needs to come out, because this is porous and obviously allows infections to come in. The only safe thing to keep it in long term is glass. So we can keep 23 litres in here for as long as we want. It's going to mature nicely and it's going to be great from a storage point of view. So let's assume we're in the 23 litre fermenter, 25 litre bucket. What are we going to do? Well, the options are available to us. Firstly, we can use bottles. You've seen, or if you haven't seen, have a look at our bottling process. We can use wine bottles, and we've 2 types of wine bottles that we can use. Obviously ones that take corks, or we can use screw top wine bottles. Glass, all of them. With the standard wine, obviously we will put a cork in that, and the corks that we use, well, we have a selection of different types of corks, but all the corks that you get from us will have a silicone coating to them, which just helps to seal them. Now, don't try and wash that silicone coating off. All you need to do with your cork is just run it very lightly under the tap. That will remove any dust. That's all we're looking to do, remove the dust. Once we've removed the dust, we can then use the cork. And for this type of cork, we would recommend like one of the hand corkers that we do. This is a Ferrari one, probably one of the best on the market. We only do one type, which is this one, and the reason for that being we find them excellent. So we insert the cork into the chamber. That goes down onto the bottle, and all we do is press down. As you can see, fairly easy movement. The cork's gone in beautifully. With this particular corker, we've got an adjustment. We have 2 nuts here. So if the cork's going in too far, we can raise it so that it's not pushing it in so far. Similarly, if it's not going in far enough, we can make it go further down. So the adjustment here is perfect, so that if you do get variations on cork length and what have you, a lot of people also, if it's sticking out at the top, they'll just get a very sharp knife and cut the top off it. So once we've bottled it, we can then think about presentation. We can put a nice new label on it, we can put a shrink top on it. But to remember, once we have put a cork into a wine, we need to stand the wine bottle up for 2 to 3 days. If you can imagine, when you put that cork in, you're going to compact the airspace above the liquid. That air wants to release, so it will try and come out through the cork. That's why we stand it upright for 2 to 3 days. We can then put the shrink on the top, which will seal down and will stop any air coming out, and the wine should be stored on its side. So any wine bottle that's in a wine rack will obviously keep that cork moist. We don't want the cork drying out. So with the wines that we're going to use corks on, I would just as a general rule suggest that if you're going to keep the wine for more than about 6 weeks, that you look at using a proper cork. If you're going to use it for more than, or keep the wine for more than 6 months, then I would look at getting a reasonably good quality cork. All the ones that we do are fairly good quality anyway. You can see that there's like not a lot of anything on these in terms of pit holes or anything, because these are actually a fill cork. But the better quality corks will be more solid naturally without any filling. And those ones then will keep for a long term. But as I say, our corks generally are pretty good, so don't worry too much about that. So anything over 6 weeks, we're thinking in terms of actually putting a cork. Up to 6 weeks, we can use screw-top bottles. The only thing with screw-top wine bottles is, when you put the cap on, give the bottle a shake and just make sure you can't hear any air or you can't see any leakage. It's got to be a good tight seal because you don't want air getting into it. But as I say, you know, anything up to 6 weeks, screw-top wine bottles are fine. Right, so if we're looking at other forms of bottling of the wine, which is just, again, going to make life a little bit easier for us, what we can do, and this is quite an interesting idea and one that we've preached about here in our showrooms, and what we actually recommend people do if they get fed up of doing all the bottling and the labelling and the corking and the shrinking and the sterilising of each individual bottle, what they can do is they can actually store it in glass jars. So if we look at a demijohn, a standard demijohn, we can store it in glass, not too large a quantity. And with the glass demijohns, what we would recommend is using one of our safety stoppers. So the safety stopper is a really natty piece of kit. What the safety stopper does, it's got a little valve on the top, very, very simple. And what happens is if the air blows up through the top of it will just release the valve that's sealing on the cap. So when that's in position and it's pushed down with the wine in the actual container, we know that if there's any slight fermentation or any slight movement, it's not going to blow that out. So whenever we come back to it, it will always be in position. If we use like a standard airlock, that's fine, but again, we must make sure it's full of water. And when it gets quite hot, that water will dry out, and we've got to remember to keep topping it up. With the safety stopper, we don't have to worry about any of that. It does it all for us. So, if we want to, we can store the wine in demijohns, glass demijohns, or any glass container. Store it in glass demijohns. The advantage of using a demijohn is that when we actually come to drink it, if, again, we don't want to start bottling, what we can do is we can take the demijohn and we have what's called a bag in a box. We've got the 5 litre bag in the boxes. Now these are just a plastic bag that fits inside the box. The tap is disposable, it is reusable. So all we do is take the liquids that's in the demijohn, fill the bag, and the bag goes in the box. Now that box will keep 4 to 6 weeks. Obviously it's not going to last that long in your household, so we don't have to worry about that. But the advantage of the bag in the box, that is totally reusable. You can then draw off exactly what you want. So if you only want a glass, you can have a glass. If you want a bottle, you take out a bottle. But that will sit in the fridge as well. So if you're making whites and rosés, you can then keep it in the fridge and keep the wine nice and chilled. So you've got options. We've also got this one, which is a slightly more robust version of the 5 litre. This is a 10 litre, and again, has a tap. What's happening is, as we draw the liquid off both of these containers, the bag collapses and it will not allow air to get back in. So you're not going to get any danger of infection. But this one's a 10 litre, and we also do a 20 litre. Now again, if you're thinking in terms of short term, you're not going to be keeping your wine any length of time, so you go straight from your bucket or your fermenter. You can go straight into this or straight into this, but you won't get any maturing there, because obviously these are plastic containers. They'll do okay, but they're not going to be like maturing like if you were keeping it in glass. So the option is really to try and keep it in glass if you're going to keep it any length of time. Short term, we're fine with screw-top wine bottles or any of these type of containers. So we've looked at various forms now of actually sorting our wine out, and in terms of storage containers. If we're going, say, from the sake of argument, from a demijohn where we've got the 4.5 litres of wine, and we don't actually want to put it into the bag-in-the-box system, and we want to bottle it, then we do actually have something that will help with the bottling process. It's a self-leveling funnel, and the way this works is this sits in the top of the bottle, and we add the wine, the white wine, to the top of the funnel. It really doesn't matter how much we put in, because this is going to level itself. So as the liquid goes into the bottle, it will automatically switch off once we get to the point of bottling, in terms of the actual size of liquid that's gone in it. As we lift it up, it will then hold the liquid in the funnel. We go into the next one, and this is then going to, as soon as it touches the sides at the top, it will now release, and all the liquid starts to flow through. So again, when that one fills up, all we have to do is pick it up here. This then locks the mechanism so that no more liquid is going to come through until we hit it there, and then again it will start to come through. So it's a lovely little piece of kit, £4.95. It's not silly money, but it really does make life a lot easier when it comes to bottling. So we've looked at the various options that are available to us when the wine is finished, and I think it actually gives you a nice balance of obviously wanting some in bottles and some just in storage containers that make it easy for drinking, and you're not having to worry about putting labels on. There's no doubt presentation does make a big difference. So if you are wanting to impress people, then a label and a shrink will always make the wine look more expensive. It's just human nature.